Good morning, everyone. This is Vic from Trading Academy and Investments. Hey, and holidays are right around the corner, and I wanted to take this opportunity and go ahead and make a series of videos specifically on my trading strategy, basically how I execute my trades, what do I look, right? Um, but this video specifically today is going to be about trend lines, right? And there's some secrets in trend lines, guys. I will show you exactly how I trade trend lines. I have been looking for someone who actually trades trend lines and trades trend lines basically or plots them the way I do. I still have not yet seen them. If you have done please let me know. I would love to see their video. Um, but most important, again, uh, some really good strategies on how to use trend lines, counter trend lines. We're gonna go ahead and go over that. But before we hop into that, the videos, I want you guys to write down on a piece of paper because these are a series of videos that are upcoming. Again, I use all these when it comes to my trading strategy. And number one is going to be market structure, right? I'm going to go ahead and release a video on that. Release a video on pivots, pivot points. Trend lines, of course, this is the video we're doing right now. Fibonacci retracement plus the extension. Guys, if you know Fibonacci retracement, but you don't know the extension, how do you know where to pick your targets, right? You might be using something else like support and resistance and whatnot. Got it. But you could be potentially losing out on a lot of other pips. Um, we're going to also talk about order blocks. We're going to talk about gaps in the market, right? And how they are pretty much magnets to the market. Um, and of course, once we have I've created all those videos, I will be releasing a full video on exactly me taking live trades and how I come to my analysis and how I make all these trades, right? All right, guys, let's get right to it. Let's jump into trend lines. And let's go ahead and so we are on one of the most common traded uh pairs is which is the euro and the US dollar, right? So one thing I like to do is first, of course, we look at the higher time frames, the daily, and then it will kind of give me an idea of, well, I'll go down to the 4 hour, I'll go down to the 1 hour, and pretty much try to pick the best entry, right? So when we talk about trend lines, we know the market moves in waves, right? We know the market goes obviously on a downtrend, the market goes down, up, down, up, and so forth, right? So on an uptrend, it could be potentially a short term uptrend, right? But of course, market goes up, down, and so forth, right? So now what happens when we're looking at a potential entry into the market, right? So typically, let's say, especially in this section right here, where the market is potentially where we want to catch this up move. Now, guys, one thing I want to point out is when I see moves like this, I'm looking for stuff like this because we know that the market moves in waves, right? And there's that potential pullback to this area, whether it's 50%, whether it's 62 based on the Fibonacci, um, you name it, right? But there tends to be an actual pullback to this area, right? Um, so when we talk about trend lines, I want to show you something real quick. So let's say you wanted to get into a trade here. Now these are counter trend lines, okay? Let's say you had there's a potential trend line there, right? Now I will tell you this, trend lines are very subjective, guys. And this is why like I like to use trend lines, but I don't necessarily that is my go-to. Hey, yes, we got a breakout. I'm ready to go in, right? No, I'm actually looking for other things. Now, let's focus in on this area real quick, right? So let's go ahead and take this one out. And we're on the daily. So we see the market kind of pulling back, right? And now we are looking into potentially going in for uh for a buy. Okay. So let's go down to the 4 hour time frame. And we have this little area right here where you're like, okay, I want to get into this trade, but look. In order for a trend line, in my own opinion, guys, I don't know what other traders out there are doing. In my own opinion, I want to see three touches. Okay, I want to see three touches. So you have your start of your trend line, you have your second touch, and then you have your third touch. Right now, let's say if this was if this was a bit higher, right? Let's say if you plot your trend line there. Guys, this is something I do. This is one of the things that I this could potentially help your trading tremendously. You take a secondary trend line, and you know how there are typically people who trade actual true price. So we have the Japanese candles, and then you actually have, of course, people who trade your normal line chart, right? So your normal line chart. So how do you know, right? if this if this trade would have not touched the wicks, right? Oh, and you're waiting for this trade to actually come and touch the third line or your main trend line. How do you know when is the right time to get in, right? Well, if I am if this is my trend line and I move my secondary trend line based off true price alone, based off true price alone, right? The market actually had this is your first, second, this is your third. The market breaks. Anything inside here is called the neutral zone. All right. You want to be careful what happens here, right? If you want to go, so I know there's a lot of people who, they like to take like smart money concept. They like to take the lots of entries until eventually they get their big move, right? So those of you who actually got into this trade as soon as the market broke here, okay, the market comes back inside the neutral zone. Well, it never left, but the market pulls back, right? And then you get the big move up, right? So I wanted to just go ahead and show multiple examples of this, and I'm going to go ahead and pick just uh, random spots. Let's see. Let's go back to the daily time frame on Euro USD. But so okay, so we got a nice pullback here, right? So let's go to this little section right here. For our time frame. Okay, actually we can go ahead and let's plot that. Let's plot this trend line right now. Boom. Okay. So we have that trend line, and now we're gonna go ahead and again do from starting from the same point, covering the body of the first candle. You can't do this, right? You can't penetrate any of the other candles. So go to your first candle, whatever candle right here, right? So if I move this line any lower, it's going to penetrate, and then you'll have even way much more touches, right? So it's the covering the body of the first candle inside uh your initial trend line. Okay. So now that you have these lines there, let's go down to the 4-hour time frame. All right. For some reason, the lines always move when I go down to the lower time frames. Not sure why it does that, but nonetheless, right? So look at all the touches that we have here. All right. So what initially on the daily time frame just seemed like 1, 2, right? Based off the outer trend line. You have 1 and 2. When you move it just covering actual price of the market, right? Because typically we're really looking for true price. Um, I'd say the inner trend line is actually has more weight than this trend line over here that is actually covering um, the wicks. And at that point, even if you wait, sometimes as you can see here, I mean, the market's already up here by the time you get a breakout, right? So again, we go back to the 4-hour time frame, zoom out a little bit, and now at this point you have 1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. you got your breakout here. You got your breakout here. After the breakout, most of the time there comes a pullback, and then sure enough, the market pulls and goes higher. Okay. Now, again, you can use this, and I mean, so we're on Euro USD, typically let's say, I don't know, Euro AUD, right? So check this out. Okay. So one, I like to go for areas that I see a lot of space, right? A lot of pullbacks. So you have this area right here. Go ahead and put that there. You have this area right here, right? Again, we're only going for the wicks, right? So I can't, there you go. I can't puncture that one. And then we're gonna go ahead and plot the actual secondary trend lines. And even we can even do this one right here, right? So let's do that one right there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and mark all these zones so we can start actually looking at uh, any potential trades here. And I'll also, now that since we're in the daily, I like to do it on the daily, even though it might change when we go down to the lower time frames. Let's go ahead and plot that secondary line, right? Boom, right there. So there you go. No more going over the actual bodies of it, puncturing the bodies of it. And so there you go. And then for our second one, you have a selling opportunity. All right. So you have a selling opportunity here, and then you actually have the also a buying. So I wanted you guys get both perspectives, right? Buying and selling. And so we do the same thing for market when the market goes up. There you go. Right there at the body of that candle, right? Nothing else is punctured. So now let's go to the 1 hour. It actually so happens to be that we're on the 4 hour. We're not even on the daily here. So let's go now to the 1 hour, right? So, all right, so here we go, right? So let's move this again. For some reason, it always does that. So when we move the trend lines to the starting point, right? That one should be right there, and we don't have any more touches, right? Technically, it's just this one. If you go on to the lower time frames, like say 15, maybe you'll have another touch somewhere here. Um, but let's say you're waiting for the market to come back, touch this, and then hopefully you catch it on the breakout or not. Well, when when you go into the actual true price of this, you have one, of course, your second, and then look where the consolidation pretty much the up and down happens. It's right here at your inner trend line. So when it actually broke out here, you could have been in this trade. The market breaks out, there's a pullback, and then you'll be up here. Now, guys, when it comes to trading, entry is everything. Okay. Breakout traders, those who just are breakout traders and get in immediately when the market breaks out, they'd be all the way down here, right? While you're up here. Now, this in a small account, maybe 30 pips is not very much, 32 pips, whatever the case may be. But when you go onto the higher time frames, this could easily be 60, 80, even 100 pips, right? And there's no way because at that point, you have to look for where your stop loss is going to be and, of course, your target, right? So look at the difference, right? The difference in entry and of course, if you're waiting again, if you're waiting for possible more touches, whether you're looking to buy or sell this, depending on where you're going with it, right? Well, entry, I mean, has a lot to do with it. When you go with the inner trend line as far as covering the body versus just covering the wicks, right? And I've seen a lot of people they'd be like, well, you can easily just go ahead and move the trend line to where you get the most touches. That's very subjective, first of all, and very imperfect. And this is where I've seen people talk about imperfect trend lines. Um, that to me is just I don't it's just pure nonsense. I think realistically when you look at when we trade wicks and we trade actual true price, there's a reason why true price weighs heavy on it, right? And if you have to play with trend lines that much just so that you can get enough touches, how do you know what's right and what's wrong? Okay, that just doesn't make sense. Okay, but again, this is another example. Let's go on, let's move on to this example right over here. Again, let's go ahead and move our trend lines, right? Right there. And so one touch here, look, no more touches, right? So when you move your trend lines to actually just touch the bodies, there you go, right here, right? So you got the one here, two, with even the red candle touching. Then you got your third touch right here, right? Look at this. Look where the breakout happened on the inner trend line, which we're referring to true price. And then all of a sudden, look at the wick, right? The wick trend line. Look at that big candle. Well, why would you actually want to be all the way up here into this versus down here? Okay? Just doesn't make any sense. All right, let's go up here, right? Continuation of the market. Now, we'll talk about market structure in another video, but the market pulls back, right? So, and if we're referring to, again, the wicks and then the body. This one we don't actually really have to move right there, which is that red candle right there. But the start, you got one, two, look at this, three, four, five. Five touches actually going into this trend line until you finally have your breakout, right? So, guys, I haven't seen a lot of people actually use. I don't think I've seen anybody use it the way I've showed you today in this video. And guys, feel free. You can use this method whether it's stock market, again, if it's cryptocurrency, in any type of market. Okay, trend lines are trend lines. But again, I would highly encourage you to start using these type of trend lines. Go with your outer and then of course your inner trend lines, short term, right? And it will help you tremendously when it comes to your trading. It's going to be a big difference in your trading. You probably get way much better entries. Um, but yes, like I said, this is just one video against multiple videos that are coming up, and in regards to my trading strategy. I will later on give you my actual trading strategy. I'll put a video together where we're going to use all the concepts that we discussed earlier in this video. But hey, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave your comments below as far as what other videos would you like to actually see on the channel, and I would gladly do more videos for you guys. All right, guys. Hey, happy holidays. I hope to hear from you guys soon, and be blessed.